Call in our three MPs for their Tuesday take on a trio of topics where they're unlikely to agree on anything. Marco Mendicino is a Liberal MP from Toronto. Karen Vecchio is a Conservative MP from Southwestern Ontario. And Nikki Ashton is here to declare her leadership race ambitions as a Northern Manitoba NDP MP. No? I'll keep asking.
I'll keep you posted.
I'm going to keep asking. Okay, first question. Mary Dawson, our at times mild-mannered ethics watchdog, has opened another little look at Justin Trudeau's holiday under the conflict of interest guidelines. This is over that Christmas vacation he took at the Aga Khan's restaurant. Now, look, Marco, it can't be good for the Prime Minister to be under two ethics investigations. I mean, how are you going to make this look pretty?
Well, I'm first of all not sure that I agree with that characterization. There have been questions which have been posed to the Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister has said consistently that he is prepared to answer questions which are put to him by the Ethics Commissioner.
Right.
You know, the position of the Prime Minister that has been taken is that this is a personal vacation with a personal friend. I think most Canadians can get their heads wrapped around that fact. The opposition want to continue to talk about this issue. That's fine. We've got our priorities very much focused on Canadians.
Well, Karen, do you agree with that?
Well, I know you're looking for me to disagree.
Yeah,
it's very special, and I know the Prime Minister has a lot of friends because that's all we've heard as the dialogue.
You're feeling the love. For
I feel the love, and
okay.
he's got a lot of friends. So anytime this happens, is this what we're going to expect? Well, it was a friend. Well, everybody's a friend. They're colleagues. I look at the fact that we've gone to the next step where she has now said we're going further. Andrew Scheer had received a letter indicating that, and that's happening. And so, yeah, I'm sorry, but what he has done is wrong. As the Prime Minister, he should have gone forward and declared right at the very beginning, never did, tries to sweep it under the rug, just continues to erupt.
And this is self-initiated by the Ethics Commissioner. This is like she responds to the letter, but she says, I've seen enough here to launch an investigation. Nikki, that's got to mean something.
Mm-hmm. And this is unheard of. I mean, really, to have these two investigations opened, against a sitting Prime Minister. And we're simply not, I mean, you've heard it here, it's just not a good enough excuse to talk about a long-standing family friend. This is a Prime Minister. There are rules. He's broken them. And really, at the end of the day, Canadians are extremely far away from this billionaire reality that the Prime Minister is living. They want to see a Prime Minister that's out there working hard on behalf of their interests and their needs. And this couldn't be further away from that reality.
I don't know why he doesn't apologize and say, look, I took a helicopter ride I probably shouldn't have. End of story. I mean, that really would take the air out of this balloon, wouldn't it?
Well, he is focused on Canadians, and we see that through tax cuts and benefits,
bring up
and
middle class,
working with the administration to the south of the border.
So
any time, well, you know, I mean, the opposition can question the work ethic of the Prime Minister.
No, we're not.
I know the Prime Minister, and I know how hard him
no one's saying
as well
that,
as the rest of
Marco.
our
They're
government
just saying,
work.
look, you've got something that certainly appears to break a certain guideline or rule. Say, I'm sorry. He's not like the Fonz on Happy Days. He can't say the word sorry. You probably don't remember Happy Days, though, do you?
Well, where our government is focused is on Canadians, on the middle class and those who are working hard to join it, and we will continue to be. All right.
I want to move along because there's a big motion tomorrow. Motions are not usually a big deal. This is Liberal MP has put forward a motion. It's to stamp out anti-discrimination against Islamophobia. It's going to go to a committee for first audit if it passes. 4 or 5 leadership hopefuls for the Conservatives said they don't want to because it singles out a specific religion for protection, and some people feel it compromises freedom of speech. What are the issues going on in your caucus on this, Karen?
Well, let's go back to what's going on within my own community. I see this bill as motion as being very divisive. People seem to be on the left or on the right, and not that there's any happiness in between. And I myself am trying to gauge what, as a sitting member of Parliament with a free vote, how am I going to vote for this? Because my job is to vote on behalf of the people. I can tell you it's extremely divisive. Now, within the caucus, we have had so many open discussions, and that's what our caucus is all about, is to discuss these things. And once again, it's a free vote. We will always support freedom of religion, the freedom of speech, but here we've got to look at it. I would like to see a little bit more inclusive of everything. And, you know, I say to people, Islamophobia, we have to stop breaking that. And a lot of times people will say with Islamophobia, it stops the communication. It's stopping that discussion that we need to have.
Yeah.
There's this issue of intolerance right now that we need to deal with.
You're leaning towards voting in favor of it by the sounds of it.
Well,
there's some amendments on
there's some amendments that I want to see on it. I understand because what happened in in Quebec City just 2 weeks ago is horrific. And anytime we see anything like that when it comes to religious beliefs, that just no Canadian can stand for that.
I want to get Nikki, but I need you, Marco. You've done a lot of certainly law on this sort of political law and that sort of thing. Is this a freedom of speech issue? Like, is there a concern this compromises the ability to say question Sharia law, for example? You hear that argument. Where are you on this?
Well, I'm at where I think all members of the House are at, which is that we want to have a country that is free from any form of religious discrimination. And the House has, in the past, acknowledged that there are forms of discrimination which need to be denunciated. And so I think it's also appropriate to take a look at the broader context. And there have been some recent tragic events which have affected the Muslim community in a very particular way. And we spoke about that on this program not very long ago.
Right.
And so we want to be sure that we're not insensitive to those developments. And at the end of the day, we have a number of rights which are enshrined in the Charter, including freedom of expression, freedom of religion. And so it's very important that we have a thoughtful debate around this, and I know that all members of our caucus are engaged on it.
Have you come to your own conclusion of whether you're going to support this or not?
Well, I've had great discussions with my colleague Iqra Khalid about it, and as well as other members of the caucus. And I think that as a matter of principle, I return to not wanting to see any form of religious discrimination permeate throughout our society. That's something that, again, I think my community and all communities and members of Parliament are joined in. And so we'll continue to have that debate as we make our way towards voting on the motion.
It is a free vote. Nikki, where do you think you're going to come down on this? I don't know, has the party taken a position one way or the other?
Well, we certainly are supportive of what's being put forward here. I mean, there's no question Islamophobia is rampant in many of our communities, and really the shooting in Quebec is an example of Islamophobia at work, and in that case it killed. This is a form of hate that has been fanned over time, and President Donald Trump's policies have helped fan it as well. And the fact of the matter is that we need to find ways of putting a stop to it, like any form of discrimination, and standing up for everybody's human rights.
I'm very quickly on this. I'll stick with you on this. Do you stick with Islamophobia? I mean, there's all kinds of religions that face hate crime. The Jewish faith faces an awful lot of hate crime. Why isolate it to one?
Yeah, well, I mean, this is what the member chose to focus on, and I think it's very timely. I mean, I think it was interesting after the immigration ban, many of us, certainly as New Democrats, denounced it as racist, and then all of a sudden the shooting in Quebec, I think, jolted many of us across the country to recognize that Islamophobia is here at home, and we need to take bold action to deal with it.
All right.
And this is part of it.
It's going to be debated, I think, tomorrow afternoon.
Can I just add something to that, though?
Quickly.
We're talking, and the debate that we had on the Trump ban, that very night, I had people calling me a racist. I don't think anyone in the entire world who's ever met me would call me a racist. So I see it coming from the other side, too, because of being a conservative. We're getting attacked. And first of all, this is something that, from where I am, I believe in religious freedom. I believe in all of those things.
Right.
So that's where I'm saying we've gone so far to one side or the other that we have to have this thing. People who don't know one another are being absolutely ridiculous.
All right. Quick
So.
last point. This is one you're going to like. Trudeau and Trump. I mean, do we agree that meeting went as well as could be expected, or do we have some quibbles, Karen?
Well, to be honest, it was a 15-minute tete-to-tete. Right? So how much are they going to accomplish during those 15 minutes? We have to look at that.
Well, they had lunch.
They had lunch.
Then they had the round table for the
But
women.
those conversations, there are some really important conversations that need to take place in the immediate future, whether it's dealing with the softwood lumber, whether it's dealing with different issues that are going on. I myself, being from Southwestern Ontario, am very interested in NAFTA, especially that word tweak on NAFTA. I want to know what's going on. I can't sit there and say that he did a bad job or a good job. He went down there. His job was to meet the President of the United States, and let's see how they move forward and how it unwraps.
Frankly, I think not saying he did a bad job is probably saying it's a good job, Marco. Quick
That's
thought.
really positive.
So probably not surprising. I do disagree with with the notion that it was a good job. First of all, we're very concerned that there wasn't a clear denouncement of Trump's policies that are in fact having an impact on Canadians trying to cross the border, and we've seen various disturbing examples over the last few days. On NAFTA, we don't know where Prime Minister Trudeau stands, but we don't know how he's responding to Trump's willingness to open NAFTA and willingness to open it in the interests of American workers. We want the Prime Minister to have a strong, solid position on jobs. And frankly, and as a woman in politics, I find it passing strange that the Canadian government was trying to, I think, make up for Trump's reputation discussion on women's issues when we know he said some blatantly misogynist things, and sort of coming together to have a discussion on women in the workforce is just not our thing.
Last word to you, Margot.
Positive, constructive day yesterday. You have two heads of state who met for the first time, where they were able to develop a relationship as well as the relationship between the two administrations. There was a lot of groundwork that went into it. Important discussions around jobs, around trade, around national security, and yes, around women as well. And unlike Nikki, I think it's important that both of our countries remain aligned in the full participation of women in our democracy, in our workforce. That's something that the Prime Minister, as a feminist, speaks very passionately about and from a very authentic place. And I see an ongoing constructive relationship which is essential to our prosperity.
Okay. That's enough for this week. We'll see you all next week. Thanks very much.
And happy Valentine's
Day. All right.
Day.
That's true. Thank you.